Hello, this is Howard, the Teacher King, coming to you with Week 10 of college football. Hard to believe it's Week 10 already. It was just Labor Day, and we're just looking at things. Now I have a strong feel on many teams, many new teams and some old ones, and then the bet against, and everything's getting good. I had a huge week last week. I was 18 and 3 last week. I only had 3 losers. And I did have them in a few teasers. I'd like to talk to you about a trap. Like Monday night, Dallas was my lock, and they should have. All I had to do was win by 2.5. And the thing goes to overtime. And had they run the ball more, they would have won. Or had they knew how to pick up a blitz, they would have actually won the game. I've never seen a pro team can't pick up a blitz. Anyway, what the trap is, when you're hitting a lot of games, right, and then you've closed them with one team, like Dallas, and I was laying 2.5, what you do is you take Washington and 10. So you got $1,000 on Dallas, laying 2.5, but the first half of the teaser's in. So what you do is now you bet Washington, the spread went up, so now you get 10 points in Washington. And what you do is you take the 10 in Washington and hope the game lands between 3, 6, 7, 8, even 10's a push, which is okay here. And you take that and you hope that the game lands and you win both halves. You can never lose. Let's say you have 1,000 on Dallas, and you come back with, let's say, 700 on Washington, plus 9.5, plus, let's say, plus 10. So you're laying 2.5 with Dallas, and you got Washington and 10. You actually have more than 6 points because the line moves. And so what you do is you already have the 1,000 bet. So you bet 660 to, let's say 770 to win 700 on Washington. So let's say Dallas wins and blows them out. So you win $1,000, you lose 770, you win 230. Well, let's say Washington pulls the upset like they did. So instead of losing $1,000, you get your 70 back. So you win 700, you lose 300. Okay, so one way I win 230, the other way I lose 300. But if Dallas would have won by 3, 6, 7, you'd have won the 1,000 on Dallas, you would have won the 700 on Washington, you would have won 1,700. If you notice, you can't lose 1,700. The worst you could have lost was 300, because you lost the 1,000 and you would have won 7 on Washington. So the worst you're going to do is lose 300. If Dallas, which you think is the best play, because it's in a teaser, only laying 2.5, they win as should be, you would have won 230. And then the other way, you could have won 1,700. And it's just a way to hedge risk and possibly win them both, because in a teaser, you got that 6 points. So if you tease it with one end and play it straight with the other, because your first half of the teaser won, you win them both. And it's just something that can, reduce your risk. And in a lot of games, you win them both, especially in the pros. Pros play a lot of close games normally with normal teams. So therefore, like Arizona, Philadelphia, we had Philadelphia, Teaser King, that was my lock, and it wins, but I could have trapped the game with Arizona and won that too. It was a close game. Same thing with Baltimore and Cincy. It was also a trap game. And I had Baltimore there when they were the underdog. Then Baltimore went favorite. Baltimore was going to be my lock, but it went favorite, so when it went favorite, I couldn't lock him because I liked him as a dog. So that's what happened there. But again, those are trap games. And so you can win both sides. How many bets can you win both, but you can't lose both? I mean, it's such a strong play. But you got to be careful with it. But it takes your hedge away. Anyway, let's get on to college. So let's look at this. I'll start with, and again, I like so many plays here, because now all the teams are identified. I know who to play and who to play against, who's weak, and the injuries. So let's look at it. B-Tech, laying 3.5 to Boston College. I had Boston College as a 7-point favorite. I have my own line that I look at, and it's just a feel thing. And I go, okay, Boston College. Before the line's out, I make my own spread. I said Boston College is laying 7. Now the line comes out, and Virginia Tech's laying 3.5, and I don't understand why. Boston College is a much better team. They beat USC. I'll give Virginia Tech, they beat Ohio State, but since then they can't beat anybody, and they're very weak offensively. So you have a team in Boston College who is a better team, and they're getting way too many points. Take Boston College plus the 9.5. They should win outright. Next game is Miami laying 15 to North Carolina. Again, I had Miami laying 10 as in my line here. It's 15. North Carolina is a very good offensive team. They shouldn't be too bothered by their Miami. Miami's a good offensive team also. Probably will go over, but I like North Carolina in the 21 points or 22 points here. I think it's way too many. They're playing good. They went to Notre Dame. They put up 43 on that defense that Florida State couldn't do. So I just like North Carolina, and 21 is just way too many points there. Iowa laying 4.5 to Northwestern. Northwestern's a very strong road dog. They've already won at Penn State and at Wisconsin. Iowa's average team. They're decent. They're not strong. It's a very even game. I like Northwestern 10.5. I mean, the trend is they're a good road dog, but I'm not afraid of Iowa laying 4.5. And Northwestern's proven they've been on the road and played very well. Nebraska laying 23.5 to Purdue. I think that's a joke. That line's way too high. Nebraska, I had it laying 17, and that was about right. 23. I mean, this is a Big Ten school, Purdue, who played Notre Dame very well. Went to Minnesota, played that very well. I know they lost to Central Michigan, but it was a fluke, and they beat Western Michigan, who's better than Central. So you had the fluke, but you got to look at the Notre Dame, and you got to look at the other games. They played Michigan State to a draw. Basically, they were down 7 and threw a pick 6 late. They ran up right down their throats. I mean, they played very well, and that's the game I'm looking at as the reason to take this. You get Purdue in 29.5 points. That's a very strong play there. I mean, that's way too many points. Auburn and Ole Miss. Let's talk about the big game of the day. Ole Miss laying 2. The trend is Ole Miss is a very strong home favorite. Auburn covers all the time. I mean, last week they didn't. I mean, the old ball coach threw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns against them, and I was one of my 2 losers last week in college. But basically, Auburn, they still beat Alabama last year, and I know it's last year's team, but this year, except for the Mississippi State game, which was kind of a fluke, they had those turnovers in the first half. They won at Kansas State, which is a really good win, and they're at Ole Miss with a great defense, but I think Auburn can handle the defense. I think it's a matchup problem. I like Auburn plus the 8, but this is one of those games you can trap. Let's say you play Boston College with Auburn, and Boston College wins early. And let's say you put 500 on it, you can come back and play Ole Miss and lay 2, or maybe you can find it for 1, and just try to trap the game. And the game should be close. Ole Miss isn't going to get blown out at home. And Auburn, I don't see them getting blown out by anybody. I mean, old Mississippi State did it, but I don't see continual. I mean, Bo Wallace doesn't scare me. He's okay, but Auburn's defense is okay. They're kind of weak against the pass, but they're not going to see it. Then again, they scored 40 points on South Carolina, who's got a good defense. Not as good as when Clowney was there, but they still have it. This is a game that I can see the trap in, and I should be close. And getting Auburn in 8 points, fine. If Auburn goes favorite, and I don't know, I'm just saying, I would definitely take Ole Miss as a home dog. That would be a lock. But at this point, laying the 2, take Auburn in the 8, and that should be a good one. Here's a good one. Texas State laying 7.5 to New Mexico State. New Mexico State's terrible. All Texas State has to do is win by 1. They're a very strong offensive team. I mean, they're not a normal road favorite, but we're betting against New Mexico State here, who's really lousy. Lay the 1.5. I mean, don't go crazy with it. It's just a little bet, but Texas State should win the game, and they're only laying 1.5 to New Mexico State. Texas A&M laying 33-34 to UL Monroe. This is one of my earlier plays in Week 1 and Week 2 when we're betting against SMU with Mississippi State or Baylor, where those teams have to win to get to 6 wins, because in the SEC it's so difficult to get wins. And A&M needs this to be bowl eligible, and there are a couple of games remaining. I don't know that they can win. So they have to win this game. They're laying 34. You cut it to 28. Keep it under 30. And they should blow out UL Monroe by 50. Kentucky blew them out. UL Monroe doesn't show me much. And A&M has to win. They will not be flat for this game. They will blow them out. And definitely like A&M here. Lay the 28.5. No problem. Georgia laying 10.5 to Florida. I think I had Georgia laying 17 in this. Florida's terrible, terribly coached, decent defense, no offense, nothing to really worry about here. Yeah, they played LSU close earlier, but this game, Georgia is just very strong defense, and I definitely like Georgia laying the 4.5 here. They should win by about 14, I would think. But I think that spread's getting too low, and in a teaser you cut it to 4.5. I mean, they'll definitely win by a touchdown, no sweat, and it's probably 10 to 14 points. Kansas State laying 11 to Oak State. I had Kansas State laying 21. I think this is a way too low spread. Oklahoma State doesn't scare me. West Virginia just pounded them last week. TCU pounded them the week before. The quarterback's out. They're a decent passing team, but they're not anything without their quarterback because it's a quarterback-run offense. Kansas State's defense will shut them down. They beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma, and they pounded Texas last week. So here's Oak State, and Oak State's just poor. Kansas State only has to win by 5. Can take them from 11 down to 5. They'll eat. I mean, for sure they'll win by a touchdown, at least two or three touchdowns. Take Kansas State lay to 5. UCLA laying 6, 6.5, 7 to Arizona. The wrong team's favored here. Because it's at UCLA, they're favored, but Arizona's a much better team. Explosive offense. They went to Oregon and won. UCLA's really been a bet against team. They barely beat Colorado, who's terrible. Definitely like Arizona and 12 there. Their offense. Their defense is a little weak. Huntley will have a big day, but so will Arizona. UCLA's not showing me anything. Take the 12.5 here, and Arizona probably will win the game, but it'll be, you got to take the dog in 12.5 in this one. I have 3 locks going in college. I highly recommend buying the college and/or locks this week. Well, I highly recommend buying the college, but there's three college locks and a pro lock this week. Very strong college locks. So is the pro. Pros is like a 98% trend that we're playing. Very strong. But I like three locks in college. TCU, West Virginia, very hard game. It could go either way. I mean, West Virginia is very tough at home. Beat Baylor, as you know. Lost to Oklahoma close. TCU, good defense normally, but their weakness has been the pass. Baylor lit them up, and somebody else, Oklahoma, were able to pass on them. And they've been scoring a lot of points. I look at this game, probably the best play. You can take West Virginia in 10, or you can play the game over. I think over might be better. I know I got burned by the West Virginia-Baylor game, which I was shocked, but I like TCU. They'll score a lot of points here, and so will West Virginia. There's probably another over, theoretically, and/or West Virginia in the 10 there. Wouldn't be shocked if West Virginia won the game, but definitely with 10, it'll be a good one. Nevada laying 3 to San Diego State. I like Nevada here. They're very strong. I had Nevada laying 10. Real spreads laying 3. They're very strong at home, especially as a favorite. They had a good quarterback, good coach, and they're just a good team that cover a lot. So I like Nevada laying the 3. Utah State at Hawaii. I would love Utah State in this one, but Utah State's got their top 3 string quarterbacks out. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. They're on their 4th string quarterback, and they're still covering every week. This team's a 91% versus the trend. I can't play them with their 4th string quarterback. I mean, they'll probably still win the game. but I do like them. It's hard to go against them with Hawaii. Hawaii's not bad this year at home, but that's the problem. You get the perfect, Utah State, and then they got the quarterbacks out. The top 3 quarterbacks are out. So anyway, that's about it. That should keep you happy for a while. And good luck to you. Have a happy Halloween. And please feel free to contact me. I've had many people email me with, who do you like in this game? I've hit most of the games, but if you have a question on something else, just let me know, and be happy to talk about the game. One other thing, Baylor. I'm a big Baylor fan. Baylor laying 35 to Kansas. I think that spread's a little high. I think Baylor wins the game. I had Baylor laying 21, and they're laying 35. Kansas isn't that bad. They haven't been getting blown out. So I think Baylor could win the game by 40, but they could win the game by 25 also. So just be careful with that. I just think the number's a little too high. If you could get it under 28 or under 24, I'd be a lot more attracted to it. But 35, I cut it to 29. It's still a big number. And Kansas isn't that bad. They're still in the conference. So just be wary of that. All right, everybody. Have a great holiday, great Halloween, and good luck to you this week. Watch the trap if you got a lot on one teaser, or you put one team and 2 or 3 teasers, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to lose that, then just trap the game. You play it straight for, about half, 3/4 of the money, and then you always at least have a 6 or 7 point spread, and you hope it lands, you win them both. So it happens a lot more than you think. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. It's Howard, Teaser King again, www.teaserking.com. Thank you.